At 50 years old, I ran a big marathon PR. And in the next couple minutes, I'm going to share with you 5 practices that you can use, anybody can use, to do the same. So let's get into that. First, I want to key in on a couple words from the title of this video, big and practices. What do I mean when I say this was a big PR for me? This wasn't my first rodeo. I've been marathoning for over 15 years. You can kind of see the times over there, all kind of leading up to Boston in 2013. Got to Boston in 2013. Of course, that was the year of the tragic finish line bombing. And ultimately, it was traumatic enough for me and for my wife that I took almost a decade off marathoning. But I did want to get back to Boston. And so made it a goal to get back in 2023 and did so. Qualified at the Tunnel Marathon in 22, and we made our way back to Boston. Had a wonderful day in the city, wonderful vacation, and a wonderful race. And I had the marathon bug again. So at that point, I kind of wanted to figure out, all right, what am I capable of as a runner and as a human? And in December at the California International Marathon, I had a breakthrough day, had a 5-minute best. To think that I was in my 30s when I set the previous PR and now I'm in my 50s, it's kind of wild. That is why I think this was a big PR. It's got me all lit up to just see what I'm capable of. So the other word I wanted to talk about is practices. What are practices? Well, I can tell you what they're not. They're not tips, tricks, hacks, or shortcuts. We don't talk about those on this channel. There's lots of other places to find information about hacks and shortcuts in running. I believe that running is one of those wonderful sports that actually rewards patience. And so practices are really more like bricks that we stack over time, years, to sort of build a wall of strength and resilience and speed that allows us to, again, over time, realize our potential. I want to kind of set the stage for talking about these 5 practices with just a little bit about my actual day at CIM. You can see with the times over there, I was able to run really consistent and smooth over the first 20 miles, just under 7 minutes. That's right where I wanted to be. And then in the last 10K, was able to kind of turn the dial and crank it up a little bit. And then the final mile, you can see in the photo there at mile 26, I was almost, it was like tunnel vision. I was going pedal to the metal as hard as I could. Felt like I could run as fast as I wanted to. It was almost a magical feeling. So certainly you could attribute a day like that to a high level of fitness, a good level of fitness, a good hydration and fueling plan that was executed well. That definitely happened. The fact that, I came from altitude, live at over 4,000 feet and came down to closer to sea level, that certainly helped. And then the fact that CIM's a net downhill course, that's wind in your sails, right? And that's one of the reasons why I picked that event. So all those things contributed, but really the 5 practices that we're going to talk about are the foundation that enabled all those things to happen. So I had the chance to have the kind of day that I did. The first practice, and this one kind of overlays everything, is to prioritize consistency. You simply have to find a way to turn the doorknob and get yourself out on a regular basis. A couple ideas here for helping to prioritize consistency. Make sure you identify your why. Why does this matter to you? Why are you doing this? That's going to be different for everybody, but spend some time thinking about it. And that's a thing that you can return to every day, when motivation dips or, you just need a little boost, return to your why. Why do you do this? I do think it's also important to set a goal. That goal is highly individual. It can be anything. And then create a plan that charts a course to that goal. And then finally, notice what's competing for your time, what's getting in the way of you prioritizing running. And to the best of your ability, we all have those non-negotiables that we can't deprioritize, but the more that you can elevate, your running in that list of to-dos, the more successful you're going to be. The highlighted point here is that days matter more than miles. Certainly miles matter, volume matters, but you're going to build that over time. What you can do from day one is say, I'm going to get out the door, X number of days. Prioritize doing something on those days that you've kind of identified. Practice 2. Put in the appropriate amount of work. This is why you need a goal, right? So that you can put in the appropriate amount of work relative to your goal. So that includes the amount of running that you do, the intensity of that running. All these things are going to be relative to your goal. So regardless of what that is, you want to spend most of your time running easy. I'm not the only one saying this. Some people say 80% easy. Whatever that formula ends up looking like for you, spend most of your time running easy. It's what's going to enable consistency. You also want to accumulate some time at race pace, and quite a bit of time, honestly. But that doesn't mean, and this is important, that doesn't mean that your time at race pace has to be all in one go. You don't necessarily have to go out and run 10 miles in a row at your goal race pace. You can run in shorter bouts. So for instance, if you did, 8 half-mile repeats at marathon pace with some rest in between those repeats, you've now accumulated 4 miles at race pace in that run. And the toll on your body is lower because you've built some rest in there, and your ability to recover is better. And then the final point on appropriate work is that specificity matters. I think it matters especially when it comes to the course that you're going to be racing on. So for instance, I knew CIM was a net downhill course, a lot of downhill running. And so in training, I did a lot of downhill running. Downhill running is really hard on the legs. And if you're not trained appropriately for it, you're going to essentially be hobbling into the finish line. So I trained that really well throughout the training block, throughout the 12 weeks. And as a result, I had strong legs all the way to the finish. The takeaway here is that you want to do the amount and intensity of work that is appropriate to the goal you've set. Practice 3 is to get some darn rest. Rest and recovery is where you absorb the training. You may have heard that before. So the work is important, but without adequate rest and recovery, you'll never absorb that work, which is a recipe, of course, for getting injured or for getting overtrained or just simply burned out. The second point is to prioritize sleep. Lots of great content on the internets about how to prioritize sleep and get good sleep. I'm not always the best at this, but all kinds of magical stuff happens when we're sleeping. This is when the body repairs itself, releasing, HGH and other hormones that quite literally repair the damage you've done while running. So to the best of your ability, try to get 7-8 hours of sleep a night, and you'll find you're recovering faster and you're able, again, to do more and better work. And then the final point about rest and recovery is to spend some time thinking about the taper period before your race. This is when you're going to reduce volume and intensity in some period of time leading up to the race. You'll have to kind of experiment with what that time is and what those reductions look like. At CIM, I think I might have found what is the magical formula for me finally after 10 marathons, and that for that race was to really keep running regularly almost right up until race day. So the week before race week, I tapered off about 80% in mileage, still kept some intensity, some workouts in there. And then race week, I tapered back again another, maybe 20%, but again, keeping some intensity in there so that the legs stayed fresh, stayed awake. So as a result of that on race day, I was rested, but I felt sharp. And again, the taper period is highly individual, how you do that. So you're just going to have to find your right formula and have some fun kind of experimenting with that. Practice 4, tap your team. What do I mean by this? It's something that not a lot of people talk about in the context of running because we think of running as an individual sport. And by and large, it is. But What I mean when I say this, and it's something I've really only discovered and started to do in the last few years, is to notice the people around you who want you to succeed and want to support you in your effort. By your setting a marathon goal, you're inspiring more people than you know, and they want to help you and uplift you and help you achieve your goals. So notice those people. It could be friends, family, other runners. It could be online. Notice those people, accept the help, and ask for help if you need it. Those are all really important things. You might also consider, you could think about looking for training partners to build some accountability into your training, or even a club if you're into that kind of thing. You might consider coaching, again, for that accountability and I guess maybe expertise. And then this final one I kind of put in, it's almost a more modern take on how you might tap into the team effect. And that is to consume content that is inspirational, aspirational, and supportive to your goals. This is, in a lot of ways, the golden age, right, for running and endurance sports content. My only word, I guess, of caution there would be to make sure that you're consuming stuff that's well aligned with your goals, right? Like you don't become attached to other people's goals or other people's abilities. You are where you are, they are where they are, and it's important not to get the two things, I guess, confused. So just make sure that whatever you're consuming is aligned to you. And the final practice, this one kind of overlays everything, which is to notice. Short word with a big meaning. It really involves sort of tuning into the feedback from your body and mind and the feedback from your environment, noticing those things and adjusting as needed in the interest of consistency, in the interest of performance. You really want to tune into those signals that you're getting. Another way to think about this is to sink into the process. Don't become so focused on your goal in the future or yesterday's run in the past that you lose sight of where you are today. You get the chance in running to do it over again every day and start with a fresh slate. It's one of the beautiful things about running. So notice that feedback and then don't be afraid to make adjustments. I'll go into a few of the points that you see on screen as ways to help you notice better and notice more. Meditation and journaling, two really powerful ways to help you kind of see and hear feedback. You can work on breath awareness. Breath is a great way to stay anchored in the present moment. I have a whole article about this on my website, runninglightly.com. If you go there and search breath or breathing, one of those two, maybe both, you'll get this article on breath awareness. So, and there's lots of other great content out there as well. So, and then again, as I've already kind of mentioned, don't be afraid to adjust your plan based on that feedback, based on those things that you're noticing. For CIM, I honestly adjusted on a daily basis, and sometimes even within runs, right? Like if what was on my plan wasn't realistic based on how I was feeling, I dialed it back. Or if I was feeling great, I might dial it forward a little bit and maybe ratchet up the intensity a little bit. That happened too. Either way, you want to be flexible with yourself in the plan that you've created, and based on the feedback that you're noticing, adjust that plan. So those are the practices, I guess, foundational practices built by bricks that you can use to have a great marathon, whether it's your first or your 15th. So prioritize consistency, put in the appropriate amount of work, prioritize rest and recovery, tap into your team, and then be present, sink into process. So that's the video. I hope you found some value in it. If you did, please hit that like button. And if you would, consider subscribing. I'd appreciate that. This is a new channel. I could probably use the encouragement to keep going. Also, I write on all these kinds of topics over at runninglightly.com. So if you're so inclined, you like to read about running and even in more depth probably than I'll go into in the videos, please head over there and subscribe as well. So I'd appreciate that. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time.